What is going on, everyone? My name is Jorge Mateo. I am founder and CEO of Canine Conversions. And what we do is we'll help dog trainers, dog business owners, and pretty much any business owner grow and scale their business. We get them more leads, we generate more clients for them, and more money in their pockets. Okay, so with that being said, in this video, I'm going to be talking about something super important that sadly a lot of people don't really take it serious, but it's the foundation when it comes to your success, when it comes to your ads, when it comes to growing and scaling your business, and that is your mindset. All right. Everyone always asks me, Jorge, how did you become so successful? Jorge, how did you help as many dog trainers as possible? How did you create a six-figure company for yourself? Like, how do you do X, Y, and Z? And in reality, every time I tell people this, they don't really take me that serious. And that is the mindset. Everything starts with a mindset, because if you don't have the right mindset, you are going to quit when things get tough. And I can tell you, as a business owner, you know, things do get really, really tough. And I'm pretty sure that's something that you've experienced as well, where, you're growing your business and then you have a little small hiccup, or it can even be a big hiccup. So how do you really get out of that? And in reality and truth, full transparency is through your mindset. And that's one of the biggest things that I've seen a lot of, successful entrepreneurs talk about is their mindset. Listen, I've worked and still currently work with some of the most successful entrepreneurs online. Some of them making anywhere from 7 to 8 figures a month. After working with them for such a very long time, I was like, hey, if you were to help someone just starting off, what would the biggest advice be? And the most common question is just starting with your mind. So this leads me into this topic of this video, which is 21 things successful people do. And the reason why I'm sharing this with you is because sometimes as a business owner, or as someone who's self-employed, or someone who's just starting off, we don't really understand the mechanism that happens in our brain, in our minds, and what other successful people do. So I'm going to share them with you. These are stuff that I'm currently doing myself. This is stuff that, my 7, 8 figure a month entrepreneurs and clients are currently doing themselves as well. And it's something that you can 100% benefit from it. So stay to the very end, just because if you're missing a lot of these things, that you know exactly what you have to do. Okay. So the very first thing is that they show up every single day. This right here is probably one of the most important things that I can tell you, is that you just have to show up every single day. Let's take the gym, for example. Let's say, for example, you're trying to lose weight and you're trying to get a six pack. You're not going to get a six pack or lose weight simply by going to the gym once a week, or even twice a week, or even 3 times a week. You have to show up every single day to the gym and do the necessary workouts in order to achieve your goal. Same thing in business. You just have to show up every single day. One of the rules that I personally have been living off of for years now, if not almost a decade, is 1% better every day. I'm not looking to be, humongously huge when it comes to improvement. All I'm looking at is just that 1%. Right? Just because simply by growing 1% can go a very, very long way. And it's all about consistency. And that's one of the biggest things that a lot of people fail to do, is the consistency of just showing up every single day. Doesn't matter if you're feeling like shit. Doesn't matter if you're just not feeling it that day. You showing up, even if it's for half a day, goes a very, very long way, versus if you just don't show up at all. If you don't show up at all, then you're giving yourself permission to miss the following day. And when you miss 2 days in a row, that's when you're breaking a habit. And that's the least thing you want to do, especially whenever it comes to you reaching some sort of level of success or reaching your goals, is you want to make sure that you're consistent with everything that you're doing. So as a dog trainer, how do you show up every day? Well, if you have someone who's, getting leads for you, generating leads for you, that means calling them every single day. You need making the time to call them. That means, if you have board and trains, if you have evaluations, if you have consultations, whatever you have, you're just showing up every single day, no matter how bad you look. Listen, there's been a lot of times where, my most productive day, at the gym, in business, at, work, whatever you want to name it, the days where I just don't feel like going has been the times where, I just produce the most. And it's one of those things that, especially when it comes to, like, let's say, for example, the gym. And that's one of the things I'm going to mention is, the gym, just because a lot of people can, relate to that as well, is that, there's been a lot of times where I wake up and I'm just like, I'm not feeling it. I'm not trying to go to the gym. But you know what? All I do is my number one goal right there is just just drive to this gym and that's it. Don't even think about anything else. Just drive to the gym and do what you got to do. And a lot of times that has been my best performing, workouts. And same thing with my work. I show up every single day, no matter if I have a fever, no matter if I feel like shit, no matter if I feel like I'm literally dying. Like I show up every single day. Now my performance not being at 100%, but I still show up. So it's just being that consistent is what's really, really going to get you to that level. And that's something that every successful entrepreneur have, is that they just show up every single day. All right. Next thing is they work harder than anybody they know. So let me repeat that. They work harder than anybody they know. They're the bull in the room. So I can confidently say that I'm one of the most hardest working person that I know, and especially when I'm around my family and a lot of my friends. That is something that I know that I just have to work twice as hard as everyone else. It's just a mindset that I've currently had, especially when going into college. Going into college, it took me 6 years to graduate. A lot of my friends took 4 years, right? But I know that I was a little slower, so that means I just had to, I had to put more work than a lot of people do. Same when it comes to business and canine conversions. It's just like, one of the reasons why we're the fastest growing, dog agency in America, and one of the reasons why I can confidently say we're the number one when it comes to meta ads is because I'm working harder than anybody else. You can go and check all different competitors and see how many ads they actually have, placed right now at this time. And I can guarantee you that I have the most ads out there. Why? Because I know that it's all a numbers game and I have to do twice, three times, five times, 10 times more than anybody else. And I'm seeing the results, I'm seeing the result. The same thing for you. It's, let's say, for example, as a dog trainer, you already have a bunch of leads. A lot of the things that here at people at Canine Conversion have is that we get them a lot of leads. Get to a point that where they have so many leads that they cannot even handle every single one of them. So what the most successful people do, or one of the more successful trainers do, is they actually make the time to call every single lead. Because let's say, for example, you bring someone into you have someone, you hire someone to run your ads, right? And you're getting leads. And let's say, for example, you have the mentality up through 9 to 5. That's your working schedule, and that's it. You don't work more than that. You don't work less than that, right? Which a broken mentality to have. But just for an example, I'm just going to put that. So let's say, for example, you're working 9 to 5, and then you have this influx of leads. So, someone who's not very successful and doesn't have that right mindset would try it, who wouldn't even call the leads because they're outside of their working hours, right? Or they won't find that extra time, versus someone who's brand new. I have people who literally working, two jobs, where one of them is their current job and another one is dog training, to the point where they're getting a lot of leads and they're like, okay, I need to make time. So what do they do? They wake up an hour, 2 hours early. They work on the weekends. They put in, on a Sunday, they put in 4 or 5 hours. So a lot of people are not willing to do. So that's the reason why they make a ton of money, is because they're the hardest people that they know. And they know that, everything's seasonal, meaning that, if you're, no matter what part of your business you're in, if you want to grow and scale, you're going to have to put in the work at times, right? You have to work twice as much as a lot of people out there need to do. So you need to find that time in order to do that, right? So for me, you know, I, I work 18, 19, 20 hours a day sometimes at times, right? I love what I do. I don't feel that time, but I know that in order to beat everyone around me and my competitors, I just have to put in the hours and have to work, as much as I can and more than everyone else. And that's the reason why Canine has been able to be literally a 6-figure a month business, is because the amount of work that I put in. And I see that constantly with a lot of our trainers who are just absolutely crushing it, is that they're working harder than anybody they know. They're working harder than their competitors in their area. They're just putting in more hours, and it's just more repetition. And at the end of the day, that's how you become that very successful. And that's the reason why Elon Musk is Elon Musk, is because he works, from the time that he wakes up to the time that he falls asleep. That's something to think about, is that you just need to work harder than everyone else. All right. Number 3 is that they have goals and purposes. That's super important, just because, if you started a business, if you're here, is because you have goals and you have purposes, right? Now, there's a difference between having them in your head versus having them written down. Which, one of those things that, one of my mentors have told me, that if you don't write down your goals, it's not real. You're not able to see that. So that's the reason why on my phone, which I can't really show you because I'm recording this video on my phone, in my wallpaper, I have my goals set right there. Every Monday morning, what do? here at Canine Conversions, all our executive, everybody in the team, one of the things that they do is called battle plans. So within the battle plans, they put every Sunday night or every Monday is what we're going to do or we're going to accomplish for that new upcoming week. And one of those sections says, what are the actions or what are your goals that you're going to be doing? And that's where I literally write them all down there. And I also write them all on notes. So I have all my goals, all my purposes, all my to-dos, like everything that I need to do is like, I'm able to see it at ease. So it's like it's one thing to have, goals and purposes, which a lot of you guys already do. If you're here, it's another thing to have them visible with you. So make sure that if you have goals and you have purposes, that you do that. Now, if you're running a business without goals and without purposes, then something's broken. There's something missing. And we really need to find the answer on why you even started in the first place and what is your motivation to really continue going. Just because, again, one of the first things that I said is that, whenever you're starting a business, whenever, which a lot of you guys are, if you guys are dog trainers, is that things are going to get rough. There's going to be some times, there's going to be some seasons where you're not getting any clients, you're not getting any leads, you don't know what to do. There's going to be some seasons or some months that are just very, very low. And anybody with a broken mindset are just going to say, hey, listen, this is not for me. Dog training business is not for me. I'm just going to try something else. And they're just going to, keep continue doing this every single time. And they're going to do something new. They don't have the right mindset. Things go south and they're not going to want to continue growing it. And they're just going to be moving from one thing to another or just in general, just plan out quit, So make sure that you have your goals and purposes written down. Okay. One of the things they do, another thing that, successful people do is that they help others, even if they don't, even if they don't really like the person or they don't really like the stuff, like they just generally help others. So you as dog trainers, you guys are here, after talking to a lot of dog trainers, one of the reasons why they've started is just because they love, they love dogs, they love animals, they love pets. Don't get me wrong, it's one of the main reasons why I started Canine Conversions, because I generally have a passion for dogs, but at the end of the day I still want to help out people. So this is one of those things where, Alex Ramosi, if you're not familiar with him, definitely, search him up. He's probably one of the most successful entrepreneurs right now in the market. And, the amount of content that he gives away it's insane. Like he gives so much content away for free. Like it's so wild, the amount of content, and not just the amount, but the quality of, the content that he gives out. Like I don't see anybody else doing this. And that's one of the things that has really inspired me is just try to provide as much content as possible. Like I have so much free content out there that literally if you took the time and wanting to learn more, like you would go to my YouTube channel and you can find some really, really great gems that can make you a ton of money. Like literally I have a video out there that shows you step by step on how I'm generating 7 figures for a client. And I showed it on a YouTube video how I set that campaign up entirely for free, just because I want to help as many people as possible. And it's just one of those things that, I've gotten a lot too from working from high level people, that we help each other out. It's not one of those things where we're just trying to hide all the secrets. It's not one of those things where we're just trying to be selfish with our success. It's weird. It's more of a culture where everyone's just trying to help each other. And that's one of the things that, I've heard a lot of trainers do that in the dog training space. And a lot of people are not like that. And that's the reason why when it comes to my, to anybody who joins Canine Conversions, doesn't matter what program, either an intro product or or the agency, which is our higher products, all of them have some sort of community where we're just helping each other out. Like literally I have a community with my agency where I have trainers helping out, trainers that have been in the game for 20 plus years, helping out someone who's just in their first few years in business. Like that's the community that I've been able to build here at Canine Conversion, and we're all here helping each other. And that's one of the things that I see that a lot of successful people do, is that they help each other rather than trying to bring people down or trying to hide all the secrets, or thinking that like, hey, like, I'm not going to help them out because then, for X, Y, and Z reason. Like we're the type of people where like literally I have a client who, he's making already, 6 figures online with his dog training, but he also has this consulting business, right? And technically he can be, as a competitor for Canine Conversions, but I have really good rapport with him. We're really, really cool. So, I'm running his ads for his consulting business for dog trainers. So it's like, even though like, yes, other people can see him as like, oh, why are you running his ads? He's a competitor. Like, no, we're at a space where we're helping each other out. And that's one of the reasons why, that's one of the things that I have learned from a lot of successful people is that we're just helping each other out. I have another client who's literally making 7 figures a month, and he's huge when it comes to investing his education. Anytime that he learns something new or anytime that he invests in a course, like he's literally giving me the logins for it, and it's just like, it's one of those things that we're just, we just have to help each other out and move away from that like selfish world that is out there, because the world can be ugly. We can all admit that the world can be ugly. So it's a matter of just really helping each other out. It's one of those things that a lot of successful people do. All right. So now another thing, another reason, another thing that successful people do is that they produce in life. Okay. So when I mean that they produce in life is that they're actually, putting in the work and getting some sort of product. So produce in life. Let's say, for example, right? I'm gonna put Canine Conversions, for example. One of the ways that I'm producing in life right now is just that I'm bringing out new offers, bringing out new ways where I can help our clients, bringing out new ways where I can help any dog trainer who doesn't really have much advertising money and get them leads and clients and start closing them. I'm helping dog trainers, for example, pay anywhere from $200 to $250 for a board and train that costs anywhere from 3,000 to 4,000. It's like we're producing out here, right? Meaning that we're finding ways to make things better and get some sort of product or get some sort of so like get some sort of product to really, get results for people. And at the end of the day, that's what it is. When we say we produce in life, we're producing results, and not just, results for ourselves, but for results for all around us. So, anything like, that I'm learning for canine conversions, it's like we're teaching other trainers. Like this whole entire system is, based on, what I've been able to do when it comes to production and produce results for one of my clients when it comes to him being an 8-figure internet entrepreneur. Is a lot of the reason is because of the ads that we run. So that's us producing. Us producing meaning that any client that comes in into Canine Conversions, we help them out, create their, their funnel, help them with their sales process, create a whole system to the point that it literally gets, it costs them, from 200 to 250 to even $300 to acquire a board and train. So that is produce. What is that? That is produce. Same thing as for you, as anybody watching this video and anybody who's, for example, if you're a dog trainer, dog business owner, the way you produce is simply by literally calling your leads when they come in, following the program, getting those referrals. Because I'm pretty sure that a lot of you guys are very, very amazing dog trainers, or dog business owners. It's just like, how do you really, really, really produce? So that's one of the things that we do as successful people is that we produce. All right. Now, another one is that they take responsibility. All right. So, what I mean by take responsibility, this is something that really, really hit me. And it's something that really changed me and the way I see certain things and the way I take responsibility is, by working with really high individual people. So, let's say, for example, right? I'm someone who, years ago, I put my dog into a board and train program. It was a 3-week board and train program, but I had some homework that I needed to do. Okay. So I didn't really, because of my lifestyle, I failed to do that program and I wasn't consistent with on the things that I was supposed to do. So my dog pretty much, I invested $3,000 in the board and train, and my dog, didn't, didn't learn a lot of the things. And till this day, for example, it's like, he, everything that he had learned, he lost, and there's two ways that I can handle that. Okay. Two ways that I can go in there, complain and bitch to the dog trainer saying that they didn't really do a good job, that they were not good because my dog is still not, listening or still, pulling when I'm, going for walks. So that's the majority of the people that that are like that. Then there's a very low percent of the population who actually take responsibility to that. So for me, I'm just like, what, I'm sure that the trainer is good, but I didn't take the time to do my homework or my assignments. I didn't take the time to really be consistent with the training that I was supposed to do with my dog. So it's like, because of all those reasons, I take full responsibility of why my dog is still pulling on a leash or still not doing the things that I want him to do. Is because I take full responsibility. And there's so many people who come into the program who, they're getting a ton of leads, but they're calling the lead once, they're calling the leads 3 days after they opted in, and they're not following the program, and yet they're still blaming us, for example, right? Like, that's not the right mentality to have. Like, if there's other people where literally they have told me, it's like, yo, I got so many leads, and the reason why I wasn't able to close because it was taking me a while to get to people. I only called them once. So, like, they took responsibility for that. The next month they're like, you know what, I'm actually gonna, change this. I'm actually gonna put in the work, and bam, like literally double, triple their income just because of that. And that's one of those things that a lot of people fail to do, is that they don't really take responsibility for their action. There's always, they're so quick to try to look for someone to blame that they don't really take the responsibility for that. And that's one of the things that a lot of successful people do, that they take the responsibility for that. All right. Next thing is, unlike average people, all right, they don't take daily actions to do better, faster, stronger, or smarter. This is one of those things that kind of relates to becoming better every single day and being consistent and showing up every day. It's like, average people do the bare minimum. That's what they do. The bare minimum, where we have to just show up every single day. We have to work harder than everyone else. We have to put in more hours. You really want to be successful as a dog trainer. Wake up an hour earlier. Maybe stay in a week. Sorry, a year. I'm sorry, an hour later from like doing your work. Try to find those ways. We have to do these daily actions in order to be able to do that. So what to be able to reach our goal. So what I'm trying to say is that, let's say, for example, you have 10 leads to call. Try to organize yourself and try to figure out, what, every 9 o'clock, every let's say for 30 minutes, let's say, for example, every time for, at 3 o'clock, and one more time at 7 o'clock p.m. for 30 minutes, I'm going to sit down, clear out my schedule, and call every single lead that I have. Imagine if you do that every single day. Like, you're going to be making a ton of money. How do I know? Because we do have people who are like that. We understand that anybody who coming into Canine Conversions may already have a lot on their plate, but once they see the amount of leads that come in, there's two things that you can do. Either one, you can just leave them and not do anything and not try to find solutions for it, or two, you would actually try to find ways to make those leads the most important thing in the world to you. And one of the ways you do that is by adapting to the new thing, which is, all the leads coming in, and then adapting it into your current schedule, meaning like maybe you have to wake up an hour earlier. Maybe you have to find this 30-minute break in between, your work schedule, in order to call every single lead, and really just adapting, and just all those little small action lead up. Because I will tell you this, all right, those who take action every single day, those who call their leads every single day, those who actually make the time, are the people who are winning. Like, those are just the facts. Those are the people who are winning. And I can tell you, the people who don't, or are not winning, are the people who are not consistent with calling the leads. They're not calling the leads as soon as they come in. They're just, calling the leads once and saying, hey, the leads they suck because, no one's picking up. I mean, in reality, how many people actually pick up the phone the first try? Like, I personally don't ever pick up a phone number I don't recognize. They have to be calling me and calling me and calling me in order for them to even get my attention. So it's like, really just doing all the small actions every single day is what will make you to that next level. Okay. Next one is, there are alignment to their ethics and their environment. So it's one of those things that, I was having a conversation with one of my friends from high school. He's, a very successful person right now. And, one of the things that he's really doing is just, really changing his environment, and really just eliminating those who are bringing him down, who do not believe in him and are always doubting him. And a lot of the times, whenever we're trying to do something new, or whenever we're trying to level up in life, you are going to get a lot of people who are going to be very negative towards you. And I know this because I personally went through this. I had to cut down a lot of friends too, that were like, oh, they're just little smart comments that I honestly don't need to hear. So it's like, I cut a lot of people. Like, for me, if they're not really helping me, in any sort of way, I have zero reason to kind of stay and try to entertain that. Like that's just my mindset. That's just me. People can disagree with that, but that's just me. And he's trying to get aligned with his environment, trying to remove that. And when I last talked to him, he was already like 2 weeks in after doing that, and he literally told me that like it was one of the hardest, but at the same time one of the best decisions that he's made in a very long time. Because yes, even though there were certain family members, and that's what sucks, sometimes they're family members, but there are certain family members that would always be negative, would always put self-doubt on him. That was just in his environment. So cutting them off for, not forever, but he's decided just to cut them off for now. Like he said, his mind is much clearer. He feels way much better. Like he doesn't feel like this big old weight on him. And it's just one of the things that really does help them out. So a lot of the times, one of the things you have to do is you just have to sacrifice and really start thinking about who's really supportive with your goals and who people are trying to bring you down, because you are going to have people like I'm not 100% sure why that happens, but that's just nature of the game. You are going to have people who are literally will not support your success, or a lot of times they're just jealous just because you're actually fighting and trying to reach your goals, rather than them being content on where they're at and just staying stuck on that. And people eventually want people to be in the same level and don't want them to outgrow them, and they feel a little threatened. So it's just, I don't know, this is just based on my experience and based on a lot of experience that I've heard a lot of people have. Is just that, sometimes you just gotta be in alignment and just remove that environment. Okay. Another thing is that successful people do is that they seek solutions. Okay. So, and that they don't really get stumbled up a problem. So you gotta seek those solutions. So one of the things that I always tell my team is that before they even come to me with any problem, they would have to try to and attempt to try to find that solution. I'm the type of person that I like to look at or look for problem solvers than someone who just come with me with a problem and know some sort of solution. So it's one of the things that has really gotten me to where I'm at too, where that I'm not always telling people my problems, trying to figure that out. Like I will exhaust all my options, all my resources to try to find that problem before even bringing up that problem. I would always want to try to solve that solution. So it's like I tell my team this, I tell myself that too. It's just, as a business owner, things can break and you just have to try to solve. You can't really just waste time, like complaining about it, or even, yeah, at the most part, just complaining about it. Like that takes a lot of, mental energy and even sometimes physical energy to complain about something. The amount of time that you spend complaining about something can be used on trying to find that solution. So it's one of the things that I really do tell my team and even myself, and even when I'm working with higher, individuals, it's like, I try to, solve that problem first, and I try to find the solution before even bringing that up. So it's like, you just have to seek solutions. That's it. Right. Next one is they learn, let's see, they learn lessons and they don't dwell on the failures. This one's super, super important, is that, a lot of the times that I see a lot of people do is that they're just so focused on the problem. They're just so focused on why something didn't work rather than trying to find the good in something. And one of the ways that, Steve Jobs had talked about this, Elon Musk had talked about this, Jeff Bezos has talked about this, like every successful people had talked about this, is that, if life brings you down, and Alex Hormozy is a perfect example of this. It's like if life brings you down, you have two options. Either one, you can just stay down, quit, and just complain about it, or two, you can just get up and find a solution to move forward from that. Like that's how winners are being made. And you don't have to hit it right the first time. Like all you have to do is hit it right one time. You can fail as many times, but all you have to do is just hit it right one time, and that could really make you a ton of money. Same thing with Alex Hormozy, where he failed so many times, and now he's, from the last time I checked, don't quote me in this, I can be completely wrong, but like net worth of $250 million. So it's the same thing. Not everything that you try is going to work. Sometimes it may fail, but it's more important about like the lessons that you learn that go through that. So it's like, for example, I've had a business years ago, and I it made me a ton of money, and eventually it went down. There's a lot of logistics that happened behind the scenes, but I wasn't having the same income as I was before. So it's like there's two things that I can do. I can go home, just get a 9 to 5 job and just, be settled with like, what, saying like business wasn't for me, it kicked my ass, and then like it's not for me, and then just live this unfulfilled life. Or what I did was like, fuck that. Like, let me learn, let me try to take the lessons that from everything that happened, let me continue to learn it so that way in the future it doesn't happen again. And it's just like, again, having that right mentality is what really gets you to that next level and really makes you successful. It's like if Alex Hormozy would have quit the 3 times that he went down and had lost everything, he wouldn't be the Alex Hormozy right now. If Elon Musk would have quit when his first rocket blew up while trying to go to space, he wouldn't have reusable rockets and literally revolutionizing the way that we go to space. Same thing with Jeff Bezos. If Jeff Bezos would have quit after the first time, and you try to find didn't try to find the lessons within all the failures, he wouldn't be Jeff Bezos. Same thing with Apple. Like I can continue going on with all these high level, people, but at the end of the day, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, you just have to have the right mindset and trying to learn, the best out of like, quote failures, just because I'm someone who doesn't believe in just completely failure. Like it's a huge win for me. And if I can find the lesson into something that didn't go my way, because then I know that I can use those exact same lessons for the future to prevent it from happening to me again. So it's like you just become wiser, you just become smarter. So it's like really perspective and seeing how you're really looking at things that will really determine the success that you have. So now is that they create opportunities, they don't wait for them. So it's like one of those things that, I'm gonna give you guys a perfect example. It's like back then for Canine Conversions, one of our biggest lead magnet or offers that we used to create people were like a mini course. Now, because of who I am and this obsession of being the best and always trying to find better ways of doing certain things, we have changed that game, right? But, when we were, doing this, the mini course, one of the biggest hiccups that we have that we would wait for dog trainers to wait for the perfect opportunity or wait for that perfect moment to create those videos that we needed, where, typically that would take months and people will find like, oh, I need the right camera tool. I need the right X, Y, and Z, need this and that. Like they would just put so many obstacles in front of them for them to like actually take action and create these opportunities. While we have other people who were very, very, very successful, they took what they got and they recorded and did everything they needed to do. And they just kept adjusting and making it better throughout time. So it's like, the perfect time doesn't exist. The perfect time to do it is now. And then you can use, you can use the future, you can, later on adjust and make it better as you grow. Because if you wait, you say you're going to do it next week, but then 1 week turns into 2 weeks, 2 weeks into a month turns into 2 months. And then you look back and realize that you didn't do anything. And then you're going to be like, I lost in so much money. So it's like, you don't really wait for those opportunities, that you're creating those opportunities to really grow as someone. And it's one of the things that we do here too at Canine. And one of the things that we help all our clients do is we help them create those opportunities rather than have them wait for them. It's like we're always creating, we're always trying to take it to the next level. So that's one of the things that a lot of successful people do. The next one is that they don't waste time. This right here is super important to me, just because one of my biggest pet peeves is getting my time wasted. Like we're not waiting for certain things, we're actually, taking action based on what we need to do. Right. And that kind of leads back to one of the things that we were really talking about in the last example, is that we don't really like to waste time and we like to continue to go and move faster, not really care about how everything looks, because we know that we can adjust things as we go. I have this free program for Canine Conversions that will teach people how to get leads, how to get more clients, the entire the systems. And like throughout that time that I've recorded the first one, I've already recorded like 3 or 4 versions of it and made each time making it better. So it's like I'm not gonna waste time for that perfect moment. That perfect moment to start was yesterday, was now. So it's like it's just taking action, not wasting time is way better than actually waiting for that perfect time and waiting for that perfect setup and waiting for X, Y, and Z to actually do it. Because now you're just losing so much time. And those people who actually take action now and don't waste any time are way ahead on those people. And how do I know? Because I see this time and time and time and again. So it's one of those things that, you just don't want to waste any time whatsoever. Just want to take action right away. And it's you're going to be surprised how much, how far that you'll get. One of those another things that they make those around them better. That's one of those things where, it's wild how it works. A lot of things that a lot of successful people do is they make people around them much better without really forcing anything, but just by leading by example. That's one of the things that I truly believe in. Is I've never ever told anybody in my team to work, after hours, or to put in more hours, or to, to go run, or to try to be better than themselves. Like, no, I never really tell them. But one of the ways I'm able to do that is by leading by example, just because they see me working those crazy hours and they believe in the vision, and they're like, oh no, I gotta get this done. And what is it? Bam. Like one of those, I want to say like a week ago, it was like 1 a.m. my time. It was a Friday night, or technically Saturday night, and I was out here, doing the funnels, working a lot of things off, and it was 1 a.m. and I thought I was alone, but then I saw that my group chat was lit. And it was like on a Friday night, on a Friday slash kind of Saturday midnight, it was already lit, and it was just people just vibing, people in my working in the company, just doing other things like working and stuff. So it's like, you know, and I got people like, working out, I got people running. So it's like, I'm making people around me better without really forcing them, but it's more by leading by example. So it's one of the things that a lot of people do. And it's one of the things that, like, for example, Alex Hormozy does is he's very, very well. He knows how to make people around him feel better, not only his team, but even his followers and people who like, are around him. I can look at, for example, Mike Barron, for example. Like, he's one of those people that wake up early, goes to the gym, does everything that he has to do. He's in production, and everybody around, he makes everybody around him even, like, be much, much better as well. So it's like, those are the things that a lot of, successful people do. All right. Next one is they think and operate with abundance, which is, one of those things where, you just got to believe that, the money's there for you. That's it. The money's there for you. As a dog trainer, a lot of times that I've gotten is that people don't really believe in themselves to the point where they don't feel deserving to ask for that $2, $3,000, $4,000 board and training. They're way underpriced just because they don't really believe in that abundance. So it's one of those things that as an entrepreneur, someone successful, and one of the things that they do is that they operate in abundance. Like, I was having this conversation with my friend this weekend, and he was talking about how, he was talking about Ty Lopez, which, if you don't know Ty Lopez, is one of like the OGs of internet marketing in the game. If you know him, props to you. But one of the things that Mike was telling him is one of the reasons why he's so successful, because he walks this earth, like, expecting the world to give him everything. And Mike Barron is the same way too. And the reason why they're able to do that, and the reason why, they walk, they walk the earth, expecting, $1 million months, expecting this and that, is because they have this mindset of abundance. So I'm not necessarily saying that you should feel like you're expected that, but it's one of those things that you should realize that, there's more money to be made, and that you're deserving of that money. You have to be operating in the fact that there's so much money out there, even if you're running local ads. Like, I've been in this game for years, and I know that, there's so much money in local versus, national versus, worldwide. So it's just the abundance is there. So you just have to believe in that, and know that you're deserving of all that money that comes into you. Okay. Next thing you know is that they think winning and win. And that's one of those things that, it's just, as a business owner and as someone who, is in this, endless pursuit of becoming the best. It's just, we're always thinking about winning. So it's like, how do I get my clients to win? How do I get my ads to perform better? How do I get my ads to perform, how do I get my clients ads to perform even better? We're always in this winning mentality. So it's this winning mentality that really gets those results. I'm gonna give you a perfect example. It's like, back in the day, we used to do mini courses for our clients. That used to give us results, but it's this endless pursuit of winning and becoming the best, and always trying to win and win and win. It's just like, if we're getting, $500 per acquisition, meaning, let's say you pay $500 to get a $3,500 or $4,000 board and train. It's like, okay, if I can get this for 500, how do I lower that? How do I get it to where it can be $250 to $300? So that makes a little bit more sense when it comes to clients, just because of my winning mentality and always wanting to win, not only as a company, not only as me, but my clients all around me. It's like, what system, one new funnel can I create in order for them to acquire a sell for much, much, much lower price? And that's the thing that why, Canine is Canine, and Canine is the best out there, is because we're not content with just one thing. It's like, we're trying to figure out, you know, ways to make it better, cheaper, more affordable, better results, and just in this winning mentality. So if we didn't have this win-win-win mentality, would have been still using our mini course and still having a lot of hiccups and getting people launched much longer and taking them a little bit more expensive. Now we've been able to grow and we're continue to do that just because I found a way better solution that gets double the amount of income or revenue for clients doesn't mean that I'm going to stop there. Now how do I get them even more? So just having that win mentality is same for you guys. It's like just gotta stay in that winning mindset. Win. When you win, there's no self-doubt. So it's just, it's one of those things that you just have to, continue being on this winning mentality. All right. And then another one is they have high standards and self-respect and beingness. This is super, super huge, is that you have to have high standards for yourself. Meaning, if you're a trainer, if you're a dog walker, if you're a dog, poop scooper, if you're, a groomer, whatever you are, if you're in the mentality of where, you don't have that much high standards for yourself and you just expect average, then you are going to get out of business. And that is just the reality, because there are going to be people in your area who are much more ambitious and have much higher standards for themselves, that they're going to get you out of the business. They're going to get all your leads. They're going to get all your clients, and you're not going to make as much money as possible. So it's one of those things that, you have to have high standards for yourself. You have to be like, okay, when I started Canine Conversion, I didn't say, hey, I am going to be, one of the best agencies, or I'm just going to be a mediocre agency. No, like my intention, my standards for myself was that I have to be number one. That's it. That I have to be the best one. I have to be number one. I have to be with the best results, with the best delivery, with the best sales training, with the best leads, with the best everything. It's just those standards that I have for myself, and the same to you. And I will tell you that, the most successful trainers that I work with, they have that. They're in this ambition, state of mind that their goal is to be their number one trainer in their area. Now, a lot of them already are. So it's like, no matter what level you are as a trainer, no matter what level you are as a groomer, walker, wherever you are in, or just business owner, you just have to have that mentality of that, of being number one and have high standards for yourself. And that's how you really grow. Because at the end of the day, it's only you versus you. At the end of the day, you only have your own back. So it's like you owe it to yourself to have those high standards for you. Next one is they maintain control and cleanliness on their area and environment. So they maintain control and cleanliness in their area. One of those things that, very subtle. Maybe some of you can relate to that, maybe not. Depends on how I'm going to word it, but it's like you have to have your environment and everything you work around clean. It's like, for example, right now, this thing that you're seeing right here is my desk. This is my computer. I have a monitor set up right there. I have my Iron Man there. But on top of that, I don't really have many things right there, right? I like to have clean openness just so I can perform better. So it's like same to you. If you're working in like an office, you want to make sure that your environment is clean. If you're walking to, if you're a trainer and you drive to people, you want to make sure that, the vehicle that you're driving is clean. If you transport dogs, for example, do day training, for example, it's like one of those things where you can't really have your truck or your car or your van full of like dog poop and smelling like. That's not the type of environment. It's like you just have to have a clean environment, clean surrounding to be really laser focused, because all of that does play into play. And it's one of those things where, I'm the type of person that if I can trick my mind to think of something, that I would 100% do it, because then I would get the results, I will get that outcome. So it's like whenever I want to be in a laser focus mode, I make sure that my environment is clean. It's just me, my computer, notifications off, put a little candle, and boom, laser focus. It's one of those things where it's just, I know that I will not perform the same if I have a place that it's all cluttered. There's so much trash everywhere. It smells, something stinks, something's rotten. Like it just doesn't work like that. So just having that clean environment, it really goes a long way. Now, the other one is they possess certainty, knowing that they put in the work. Having certainty is something that, I'm not gonna lie, maybe a little bit hard to really get, but it's one of those things that once you get it, it's game over. Meaning that that you're going to make it no matter what. And that's one of those things that goes into believing in yourself and really having that right mindset. Because if you go into something thinking I might not make it or I might not, then you're already putting yourself in a position to fail. You are, just because you're like 1 foot in and kind of 1 foot out, kind of debating if it's going to work or not, versus someone who goes into something and they're going to be like, I am going to be number one. I know I'm going to make this work. It's one of those things that you have so much certainty that you know it's going to happen. So it's like, for example, Canine Conversions is like when I first started it and I placed my very first ad in, and nobody had any idea who Canine Conversion was. I have full certainty that I was going to be number one. I had full certainty that I was going to be the top three. I'm already top three. I'm already one of the biggest, fastest growing agencies for dog training right now in America, and we're continuing to grow. And it's just, the amount of that, the amount of money that we're bringing in, the amount of people that we're helping out, the way that our team is growing, much the amount of ads that we're posting, the amount of ads that we're investing. It's like, we're just growing and growing and growing. And I just had a full 100%, 110% certainty that I was going to make it. And I just, one of those things that a lot of people have that. It's like they have that certainty that they know they're going to, make it on whatever thing they do. And no matter what level you are in business, you want to make sure that you have that level of certainty as well. If you're going to be the number one dog trainer in your area, if you're going to be the number one dog training in the whole state of California or Florida, if you're going to be the best person X, Y, and Z, like you just have to have that level of certainty of knowing that you are going to make it and not doubt yourself. It's one of the things that, no other successful people really doubt themselves. Is they know that they're going to make it, like Steve Jobs, Apple. It's one of the things that he truly believed in from the bottom of his heart, that it was going to be, the way that, we have phones and the way that we communicate with people. And look at Apple now. Steve Jobs may have passed away, but his legacy still, continues to grow. And it's because the amount of certainty that they have as you, as trainer, business owners, you just have to have that level of certainty and not doubt yourself in anything that you do. All right. We're almost done. We only got a few left. And here is number 19 or number 20 is that they know that they can achieve anything and they don't accept failure. Kind of similar to what I was talking about before, is that they achieve anything that they want, that they put their minds to. And if whenever they can, they continue to do it. They don't really accept failure at all. Failure is not an option. It's one of those things where, kind of lean back to what we're talking about, learning from failures. It's like when you fall down, it's like, what can you learn from that in order to prevent it from happening in the future again, or to better prepare yourself for something else that you do, right? So it's like you just have to be in this position, in this mindset, knowing that you do not accept failure and that, failure is part of the process. And that's it. It's just one step closer to actually finding that gold mine. At the end of the day, that's what it is. That's what failure is. Failure is one step closer to achieving your goals. And a lot of people don't think about it this way, because a lot of people think that, like, okay, maybe this is not for me, and they just quit. And again, this is why I strongly, strongly believe, and I feel like, having the right mentality, having that right mindset is the foundation to everything, just because I've seen so many times people quit when things get tough. And I've seen very little times, but I've seen it so many times that those who do not quit end up achieving their goals and end up doing, whatever they set their minds to, and literally making like a ton of money, is because they understood this and they knew that they don't accept failure, and that, they can achieve anything you want. And again, that goes into self believe in yourself. And if you don't have that's one of the first things you got to do, is really start really believing in yourself and know that, you deserve this. All right. And then lastly would be that they don't make excuses, they make adjustments. It's one of those things where, I tell my team that, I don't want to hear excuses. I don't believe excuses. I think excuse is one of those things that a lot of people tend to do to justify them failing, especially for someone who comes at like Canine Conversions. I had one perfect example where I had this individual who was pressing us to try to get them live as soon as possible. So what did we do? We went above and beyond. We tried to get them live as soon as possible. We did, and he just ghosted us for a month. Later on, he comes in saying, "Hey, what's my login for my CRM?" And we're like, "What? We've been reaching out to you 3 times a week. We never heard anything from you." Hey, he's like, "Yeah, I don't see the leads come in." Duh, you don't see the leads come in. You haven't had access to it. You were pressing us to get you launched. And at the same time, you haven't even logged into this. And then he finally logged in, and then he called the leads once, and they're like, "These leads are crap. I want to start my services, X, Y, and Z." It's like, if you really, really think about it, like, it's like, that's so idiot, like, so dumb. Like, that is the most dumbest thing that I've ever heard in my life. It's like, who wouldn't take responsibility knowing that, a lead converts much more higher the faster that you reach out to them? Really think about, do you remember what was the last, like, what did you opted in 30 days ago, a month ago? Do you remember? Like, do you truly remember what you opted in? The answer is going to be no. So when you get a call from something that you opted in a month ago, like the chances of someone remembering is very, very low. So it's like, of course you're not going to get the results that you want. Of course you're not going to get the clients. Of course, you're going to pick up people, you're going to call people, and people are going to be like, I don't ever remember, booking this because it's been a month. So it's like one of those things where you're just making excuses of like, well, I just, these are crap, they don't work, Facebook doesn't work. When in reality, it's like, it wasn't that. It was more, the leads were contacted 30 days after they are, and you're just trying to find excuse for something not working. So it's like, okay, like, it doesn't work like that. So every successful people that I've worked with, it's just they don't make excuses. Like they just don't make excuses. They just take responsibility for that, or they try to figure out something to do. So it's one of those things where, again, this is something that all of this is something that I personally do, something that I've studied a lot of successful entrepreneurs like Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, Jeff Bezos. I've worked with a lot of people making 7, 8 figures a month that are like my clients, were my clients. And one of the things, that I'm hearing from everyone, that it starts with the mindset. It really starts on the way you operate. And if you don't operate the right way, it doesn't matter, if you get, riches right away. Because I've seen people go from zero to hella wealthy, but then lose it all because they didn't have the right mentality. So it's one of the things where I'm really trying to help you guys out in order to really understand what other successful people do, what I do, what other my clients do, and what other really, high level individuals do. So it's like, you know, the way to really lose in business and in life is pretty much everything that I talked about, just do the opposite. Like that's it. Like that's how you fail, is just literally do the opposite of everything we just talked about. It's like, being broke, and this right here is going to be a bar. All right. Just listen up, because it's going to really be a bar. Being broke, you know, it's just a mindset. That's it. It's just a mindset. Like you don't need to have an inheritance. You don't need to have the best education ever. Like, business and entrepreneurship, at the end of the day, it's all, something that we can all accomplish. It's something that we can all achieve our goals. And it starts with, you know, mindset. And if you don't have the right mindset, then you're going to stay broke forever for the rest of your life. Especially if you go into business wanting to try something new, it doesn't go your way, and then you just completely stop and be like, business is not for me. Or if you run ads for the first time and they're like, oh, after 2 weeks you didn't get the right results, then this isn't for you. It's like, I had this trainer, very very well respected trainer in the dog niche. I'm not gonna say any names. As much as I want to do it, I'm not gonna say any names. But it's like, we started running a campaign, and it only ran for a week, and they're like, Facebook ads not work, it's trash, cost per message is high, like, started making all these excuses and everything. And it's like, having that type of mindset is like, one, you're not gonna make ever gonna make Facebook ads work if you're like have this right mindset. I believe they have gone through like 4 other ad agencies, and can't even imagine how the experience was there. But it's like, if you're really not, haven't even let it run for 30 days and really making like, trying to find results within like a week, like it doesn't work like that. That's not just the right mindset to have. Like you're absolutely gonna fail, especially when it comes to Facebook ads. Just because Facebook ads, it's like, I don't really give a shit if you're the best dog trainer out there. Like if you don't understand Facebook ads or marketing, you're not gonna make that much money as you want. And I've seen it so many times where I have, decent trainers make a ton of money, where really, really great trainers do not make that much money. And it's because they don't have the system, they don't have the awareness, they don't have X, Y, and Z. And it's just like, again, it's something that, it's all in the mindset. And if you really, really want to make business work as a dog trainer, business owner, in the dog niches, you really got to start changing your mindset. You got to start changing with this 21 things that successful people do. Because even if you are missing half of them, like, and fix half of them, that's going to go a long ways. With that being said, my homework to you guys is really see which of these, all right, sections you're missing. That way you can start working on it and trying to enhance your life much better. Just because, again, it's like, I'm not getting this from people who never made money online or people who are struggling. Like, I got this information based on people who've already made it, clients who've already made 8 figures a month, 7, 8 figures a month, like really, really, like literally make that. Other people, like successful people that are like, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Alex Ramosi, McBaron, like all these people. So it's one of those things that really starts with the mindset. Rewatch this video, where you listen to this video and really start changing your mindset and trying to see how other people operate and how you can operate yourself as well. So thank you for listening, and I'll catch you in the next video.